All right, man. Welcome to today's episode. Where is your treasure? So, wanted to share a podcast review. The way this podcast grows is by you guys writing reviews, sharing the podcast. I know some of you are doing that. Super excited. But yeah, if you're listening to it, you enjoy it, please write a review. So this is by Strongman Mikey D. He says, "Get results. This is a must listen. I look forward each week to listening to Dr. Mike and learning from him. He's helped me a ton. I was in a bad place, and he's helping me turn things around for myself and my marriage. I had tried counseling, church, support from friends, learning on my own, but what I needed was a coach, and he is the best. Do yourself a favor, listen to his podcast, sign up for his Strongman system, do the work, and enjoy the results." So this is one of my clients, and he's in the Strongman system as well. So super cool. Appreciate that review. So, these past few weeks, they've been pretty intense. If you listen to last week's podcast, I was really impacted a lot and kind of changed things a lot. Been able to take a lot of time for self-reflection, not just self-reflection, but really having me seen from the outside more. One thing I learned from this book, Brain Talk by David Schnarch, is sometimes we don't see ourselves that clearly. We need to get sort of an outside perspective. And I've been getting that more, and it's been very valuable. But I've been thinking about the scripture in Matthew 6, verses 19 through 21. It says, "Lay not up for yourself treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." And that's what I want to really look at. Where your treasure is, that's where your heart is going to be. So this past week, I've really been thinking, like, where is my treasure? Where was my treasure? As I was thinking about it, I had to think, like, where is my treasure? So a good way to find that is, what do I spend most of my time thinking about? Like, where does my brain go? Kind of automatically, where do I spend a lot of time thinking during the day? When I really look closely at this, my real answer was, I think about myself a lot, and I think about making money. Like, that was my treasure. Really, like, when I looked closely, I spent a lot of time thinking, oh, like, how do I do my business? How do I make more money in my business? Like, that was such a big focus. How do I finally sort of like prove myself that I'm, that I'm going to make enough, and all of that. So I spent a lot of time thinking about that, um, obsessing about it, spending money trying to learn about it, all of that. And so it's not that I only thought about this, right? If you would have asked me, I would have said, well, my treasure is in God, it's in my family. And I did and do spend my mornings kind of visualizing, like, what what will it be like to meet God? How do I want to serve my family and help my family, my wife, and then each of my kids? So I would do that. But then, like, the second that I finished, right, the second I finished that visualization, was like, okay, let me get to work. Like, how am I going to, sell more, make more money, all of that. And then the other part too was, trying to get my wife and others to do what I wanted. So, this mosquito mode, right? Like, I'll do something nice for you, but it's because I want something back. I want attention. I want appreciation. I want affection. I'm getting upset. I'm getting impatient that I'm not, getting what I want from my kids. They're not acting how I want. My wife's not, doing what I want her to do. Really, the big question I was asking a lot is, what's in it for me? And what's in it for me in my interactions with others? Super selfish approach. I didn't really see it very clearly until these past 2 weeks, and it's a problem. But that's where my treasure was, right? That's where most of my thoughts were going, and I was able to see that a lot more clearly this week. So, but what I learned from this scripture, right, is that you can actually choose your treasure is. Choose where your treasure is, right? It says, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. But you can choose it. You can decide, what's your treasure going to be. I could decide what was most important to me and actually direct my thoughts in that direction, instead of letting them always go, by default or just by pattern into, the money or the trying to get what I wanted from my wife, right? So Jesus, he gave us a good idea, like, to choose something that's not physical, right? Where thieves don't break through, they can't steal it. So not to have it in something like money. So what I decided for myself was that my treasure, what I'm really going to value in my life, is my relationships with other people. Like to really care about the people around me, to know them at a very deep level, and to feel the joy and peace and fulfillment that comes from just really getting to know the people around me. It's something that thieves can't break through and steal. It's something that I can always have with me. I was talking with my wife about this, and she was like, well, sometimes relationships can break down or fall apart. I was like, that's true. It could happen that I'm building a relationship with my kids, really trying to understand them deeply. And they at some point say, well, I don't want a relationship with you. That could happen. But that doesn't stop me from being able to care and still carry this, what I'm going to call a map, carry this map of them with me and have that be, my treasure, that I really have these people in my life that I care about. So I actually created have a Google Drive folder that I use to organize a lot of my important documents. So I titled the folder My Treasure. And then I started scheduling times to sit down with my friends, with my family, and really deeply understand them and what I call map them out. So I'll explain more what that means. But I scheduled times with my brothers. I scheduled time with my friends. I scheduled time with my family. My wife and kids. And I still need to do that a little bit more actually. But it's just really incredible. Like it feels like I'm really starting my life over, that I'm getting to choose this new treasure and just really build up these relationships with people. It feels really, really great. It makes me feel less stressed about money. It makes me feel less stressed about life in general. It helps me feel like I'm going the right direction, and I'm going to be okay no matter what happens, financially or otherwise. That God will be with me, that I'll be able to build these relationships and that'll be there. And that's what real wealth is, I think. That's what I've decided, right? Is that real wealth is really deeply knowing the people around me. Like I said, I'm creating these maps, and those maps are going to be my treasure. They're going to be in this folder. I've got them. Um, and it's really been amazing so far. And I'm excited to keep it going. So here's kind of the format that I'm using. So I'll sit down with somebody. It usually takes several hours. It doesn't even always happen all in one, but I try to get most of this, in one time if we can. If I can't, we kind of go another day, another time. So I put at the top their birthday, because I think that's important to know people's birthdays that are important in your life. Who were their parents? What's the relationship like with them? What was their upbringing like? I used to not put a lot of stock in that, but this past week has really helped me see clearly that forms a lot of the way we think. It's shaping the way I'm starting to work with my clients as well, to really look more closely at those family relationships, because they a lot of times form the way that we go into our marriage, whether we're conscious of that or not. So trying to become more conscious of that, and that helps me understand, these other people so much. When I'm mapping this out, when I draw it out first sometimes, and just kind of like see, okay, like who is important in this person's life. Their parents obviously are going to be important, even if they were not great parents, like in my wife's case. Still, that forms a lot of them and how they're going to interact with people. Their siblings, what's the relationships like there? What was it like growing up? What's it like now? In-laws, right? Important part. Friends, who are their close friends? Religious or spiritual beliefs, what's important to them? What's their, what they think this life is about? Where do they think they're going after this life? What do they do for work? Do they like it? What kind of work really makes them come alive? Hobbies, what do they do for fun? What do they enjoy? What do they like and not like in terms of food, entertainment, clothes, that kind of thing. Uh, And then I put current main issues, like what are the struggles right now? What's going on? A lot of times this will just come up as I'm having these conversations. They'll bring these up because they're starting to feel like I actually care, which I do, which is different than before. Unfortunately, where I was asking more, I got to know people as deep as I felt like was useful to me, versus making this really my treasure and knowing deeply the people around me because that's what I want. That's what I value. It just is, it feels so much different to me. And I think people are able to sense that. That's what I teach and believe, is that people pick up on your intentions. So my intention really is just to know the people around me and just value them. And so understand, what are they struggling with right now? What's going on? What are their goals? What do they want to achieve? Um, and then how can I help? That's the question I ask myself. What can I do to help them do that? And then I have at the bottom of that like an image, so I kind of picture, okay, what's going on with this person right now? Um, are they struggling? Are they in a good spot? Are they kind of moving towards something? Do they feel kind of stuck? Something that I can sort of visualize. I think it's important as you're going through this too. If you choose to do this and to try to get to know the people around you at a deeper level, hearing stories. So you're asking about their parents and you're like, okay, what was that? What's a story that kind of illustrates that? That'll give you a lot of insight. If you can actually picture it, it uses more of your brain, and you can actually kind of form this map or this picture of them better. So in summary, there's kind of 3 steps to doing this, right? Step 1 is to find your current treasure, right? Like what, and probably what I think the most useful question you can ask yourself is, what do you spend the most time thinking about? And you can answer that. You can even ask the people around you, what do I seem to talk about a lot? What do you notice coming up a lot when we're interacting? And you'll get some good insight there as well. Step 2 then is to actually choose your treasure, right? Be intentional. What do you actually want to be your treasure? Again, I would recommend, based on this teaching of Jesus and just my own personal experience, to put that treasure in something that is more eternal, something that's not just physical. Okay. And then step 3 is building up that treasure, right? How are you going to make this important in your life? What are you going to do to really, build up that treasure? Like if you're trying to build wealth, you find different ways to make money, you find different income streams, right? I'm not saying that's a bad thing to do. I'm just saying that focusing most of your attention on that will probably end up in a life that doesn't feel as fulfilled. I know it's been that way for me. So, instead, like for me, building up these relationships, how am I going to do that? Well, I created this file. I'm scheduling these interviews and times to talk with people that are important to me. I'm loving it. It is so fun. I feel like I'm creating just such a better life for myself by doing it. I definitely recommend it. So guys, yeah, that's how you do it. You find your treasure right now, and then you be intentional and you choose your treasure, and then you start building that treasure up, whatever you choose it's going to be. All right, guys, stay strong. We will see you next episode. I'd love it if you would leave a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this. So write one out. That would be great. Also, come over to strongmenstrongmarriages.com. And there's a free 7-day training there that's going to really walk you through, kind of in story format, how to go from wherever you're at in your marriage right now to greater connection and intimacy. It's pretty fun. Kind of follow along on this story. And if you're ready, come and join the Strongman system. You're going to have a very structured way to build up your spiritual, mental, emotional, and sexual strength, create joy and intimacy in your marriage, and have me as your coach along the way. I also have a few one-on-one spots available if you do want to come in with as an individual or as a couple, and we can really work together and get to this deeper level and more joy and intimacy in your marriage. All right, guys. So looking forward to working with you further. Stay strong, men. We'll see you next episode.